Welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars. Take a breath, because what we're unpacking today has the entire celebrity universe holding its breath. If you live for the loves and heartbreaks that play out under the brightest spotlights, you're in the right place. We're diving into a revelation that would have sounded impossible just yesterday. The date is today, November 6, 2025, and the headline writes itself. The shocking news surrounding Cenk and Mahassine has caught everyone off guard. For what feels like forever, the chemistry between Cenk and Mahassine has been undeniable. Whether stepping onto a red carpet arm in arm, teasing each other softly in interviews, or flashing those private smiles in candid clips, they mastered the art of being the couple everyone rooted for. Their supporters adored them, and the industry admired the quiet strength of their bond. Commentators dissected every shared glance, every intertwined hand, every mirrored laugh, convinced that what they were seeing was the rarest thing in showbiz, a love story steady enough to outlast the noise. They built a narrative of partnership, mutual respect on set, synchronized schedules off set, hints of future plans that fans eagerly tried to decode. Projects were mulled, appearances coordinated, and the impression was that they were riding a genuine high point as a couple. And then, the kind of twist you never think will actually arrive did just that, suddenly and decisively. In the early hours, images that looked unmistakably intimate surfaced across multiple accounts, and, not long after, statements began circulating that many are reading as confirmation of what so many fear, that Cenk and Mahassine have decided to step apart. We must stress this carefully. The wording from their teams leans into respectful privacy and time for reflection, and while nothing uses the starkest language, the implications are hard to ignore. The shock isn't simply the possibility of a breakup. Celebrity splits happen, but the way this appears to have unfolded and the cloud of questions hovering over it. Initial whispers suggested an amicable decision, the kind of carefully measured phrasing about mutual admiration and different paths that publicists could write in their sleep. Predictable, right? But within hours, that tidy narrative started to fray. Rumors, loud ones, hinted that there might be another presence in the frame. Not a nameless shadow, but someone remarkably close to both of them, someone who had been part of their world in very visible ways. Without naming names, those in the know point toward a figure who has shared stages, sets, or panels with them in the past, making the idea of emotional overlap nearly unbearable for those who believed in the sanctity of their connection. And then came the wildfire. Social feeds erupted. Trending boards swelled with their names. Some fans mourned with stunning earnestness, pouring out long letters to Cenk and Mahassine as if penning open diary entries. Others pivoted instantly to theories, linking dates, matching outfits, piecing together who stood where and when, and why a certain look felt loaded in hindsight. The more skeptical corners of the internet simply reclined and watched the drama, equal parts fascinated and fearful of what could come next. We've been digging with care, prioritizing what's grounded over what's merely loud. People close to the situation, people who have been present at dinners, fittings, and quiet Sunday afternoons, paint a complicated picture. According to these sources, the distance didn't creep in gradually so much as reveal itself in sharp, unmistakable beats. It said that Cenk was the first to feel the air shift, the first to notice that the easy warmth they shared had cooled in places that used to feel safe. He tried, they say. He asked, listened, offered answers without defensiveness, and even reshuffled commitments when he could. But explanations didn't quite bridge the widening space. What accelerated the storm were whispers that, while still publicly with Cenk, Mahassine may have experienced a connection with someone else, an encounter that wasn't flippant, not a random tabloid fling, but something layered and confusing even to those involved. Again, all of this remains in the realm of rumor. However, the fact that the alleged third party seems to be someone who has stood close to both of them in professional contexts is what has stunned everyone. Imagine being in Cenk's shoes, seeing familiar faces, revisiting shared rooms in your mind, and wondering which moments meant what. The word many keep using is heartbreak, clear, heavy, undeniable heartbreak. People who care about Cenk describe him as deeply wounded, less by any public humiliation and more by the sense that honesty slipped away somewhere along the path. They talk about a man who pictured a future with Mahassine, who was proud to stand beside her, who felt expanded by her presence. They also describe a man who now seems disoriented, suddenly suspicious of things he never used to question, picking up his phone only to set it down again because there are no messages left that can change the past. On the other side, voices sympathetic to Mahassine suggest that what we're witnessing is the end of something that had been fragile for longer than it appeared. They don't speak of betrayal with certainty. Instead, they outline a story of mismatched tempos, overlapping responsibilities, and two people evolving in ways that inadvertently pulled them in different directions. In this telling, any new emotional bond didn't begin with malice or deceit, but arose where loneliness had begun to pool, an uncomfortable truth that doesn't excuse pain, but complicates the idea of blame in ways only real life can. Meanwhile, the two of them seem to be taking different approaches in public. Cenk, historically private when it comes to personal matters, has stayed measured, liking a few supportive comments and keeping photos untouched for now. Observers read meaning into silence, but that's a dangerous game. Sometimes silence is simply self-protection. As for Mahassine, her recent posts have felt reflective, lyrical even, talking about growth and self-trust, about honoring seasons rather than forcing them to stay. To some, these are coded messages. To others, they are simply a woman's way of breathing through chaos. Industry ripples are already visible. There were whispers of a shared endorsement campaign slated for winter, and a charity gala where they were expected to appear side by side. Teams are recalibrating. PR strategies are being rewritten from scratch. Friends in common are choosing words with surgical care, keeping show invites separate, debating which table each name should land on when guest lists are finalized. The logistics of a public separation, or even a prolonged pause, are grueling in ways the public rarely considers. Fans are split down the middle. Those devoted to Cenk are closing ranks around him, insisting he deserves clarity, warmth, and time. They recall how tender he seemed in interviews when he spoke of grace and patience, and they are, in a way, trying to return that grace to him now. Admirers of Mahassine push back against the quickness of judgment, reminding everyone that relationships don't live in black and white, that loneliness can bloom in homes that look perfect from the outside. And then there are the bystanders who, enthralled yet wary, wait for something definitive, a statement that leaves no room for interpretation. It's worth saying this aloud: beneath the perfect lighting and practiced smiles are people, two artists who give so much of themselves to the public, and who are now facing the kind of private ache that doesn't respect schedules or PR plans. If a third person truly exists in this story, even then, the angles aren't simple. There are misreadings and missteps, moments of truth told too late, and apologies that arrive without the power to rewind anything. So, what happens next? There's a strong chance we'll see more formal language soon, perhaps separate notes posted to their accounts, clarifying whether this is a definitive end or a request for space. We may see them address not only the status of their relationship but also the whispers of emotional overlap. Will they deny, explain, or choose to keep the doors shut? Will the alleged third party step forward to set the record straight, or will that person remain an outline others color in? And what of the projects they were orbiting together? Will they be paused, recast, or pushed forward with newly drawn boundaries? If this is indeed a turning point, it will become a date fans remember, a line between the before and the after. The internet never forgets, it only archives. But there is another truth worth holding: people heal. Sometimes they heal together. Sometimes they heal apart. Sometimes they look back and recognize that what felt like a collapse was really a necessary shift toward the lives they were always meant to lead. As of now, the day's reality is a tangle of implications. Reports suggest distance where closeness used to thrive. Clues have piled up quickly. The claims of a third person remain just that, claims, but even the rumor of that possibility has left a mark. If you're feeling whiplash, you're not alone. Everyone, from stylists to directors to fans who set alarms for their live streams, is recalibrating. Let's not forget how high the stakes felt when Cenk and Mahassine first stepped into public view together. There was a timelessness to their aura, a classic meets modern spark that made people root for them beyond reason. That's why this moment stings. It asks us to accept that even the brightest stories sometimes need a rewrite, and that rewriting does not erase what was real. It transforms it. We'll be watching every move, but carefully, respectfully. If and when more detailed statements surface, We'll bring them to you right here on Secrets Behind the Stars, separating signal from noise and honoring both the devotion of fans and the privacy of the people at the center of the storm. For now, the picture is complex, the narrative of a couple who appeared unshakable, now shadowed by doubts, by rumored entanglements, by quiet rooms and long looks and questions that are hard to ask. Before we go, a gentle reminder. It's easy to turn two people into symbols and forget their humanity. It's tempting to take sides and assign blame as if that will tidy the mess. But love rarely unravels in tidy ways. It frays, it knots, it exposes the soft parts of us and sometimes teaches us who we are once the applause fades. If Cenk Toran and Mahassine Merabet are closing a chapter, may they find peace at their own pace. If they choose to fight for what they built, may they find the strength to do it privately and honestly. And if the truth sits somewhere in between, if what we're seeing is a pause, a redefinition, a season of separate growth, then time will tell us more than any leaked image or whispered claim ever could. Thank you for spending this time with us, for listening with open hearts, and for remembering that behind the spotlight stand real people weathering real storms. Did you see this coming? What do you make of the rumors, the timing, the carefully worded statements? Share your thoughts below, and keep it kind. If you want the latest as it unfolds, like this video, share it with the friend who texts you first when the internet breaks, and make sure you're subscribed to Secrets Behind the Stars. We'll be here, keeping watch, ready to bring you what matters the moment it matters.